What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump on the Spot. I am your host, TAZ, and today we are back with yet another interview. But before we get started, I want to remind you all that last week we had a great interview with Chris and Aaron Spears, the owners of Motive Unlimited. So make sure that when you finish here, you go ahead and check out that interview. It was a good one. I also remind you all that our Harlem Nights event is coming up next year. So make sure that you go to mybimp.com and pre-register. So without any further ado, we have an amazing interview coming up tonight. We have ERIC Dungy, the official luxury home realtor at Compass. He's also the host of Inside the Headset podcast, and he's the co-founder of Evolve Brotherhood. So without any further ado, I'm excited for this interview. I know you are too. Let's get it. Eric, how you doing, man?
What's going on, Taz? Man, I'm doing great. That was a super cool intro. That was super dope, man. So I'm glad to be on the show, man. You really made me look cool. I'm gonna have to live up to that.
hey, my producer do his thing every week. He have it going. He do some good stuff, man.
Yeah, shout out to your producer coming with the heat, man. He's like
definitely. Yeah, hey, he be doing his thing out here, man. Thank you for coming on, man. Accepting the invitation. I know that you're a busy man. You do a lot of work. You have a lot of different things going on, and we're gonna get into that. I'm glad you accepted our invitation to come on.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be on. I look forward to chopping it up with you.
Absolutely. So without it, we're not gonna hold on no more. We're gonna go ahead and get into this interview. Now we know that your last name's Dungy, right? And a lot of people from the Central Florida area, a lot of people from the Florida area know who your father is, Tony Dungy, right? Now he's huge. He's a Hall of Fame coach. We all know that. And now he's working. He's on the TV side of football, and he's also done a lot in our community. So tell us what it was like, growing up in the Tampa, Florida area, being the son of Tony Dungy.
Yeah, I mean, it was overall pretty great. I mean, we moved here, I think, in 1996, and pretty much from that day one, it was just love. Like the city really just took us in. My dad and the whole team really poured into the community, and I feel like that love was poured right back in. So it's been a great bond. My parents, before moving to Tampa, moved around Pittsburgh, Kansas City, some different places. But as soon as we got to Tampa, my mom told my dad, like, we're never leaving here. So your career takes you afterwards, like, we're not leaving Tampa. So it's been, I'm 29. I've been living here on and off for like 24, 25 years. It's been love, and it's really amazing too. So many years later, after my dad stopped coaching, to still, just whether I'm getting gas or just like going to the grocery store or whatever, and you get people coming up saying, "Oh man, like your dad really made an impact," or I went to a Bucks game when I was little, or I saw my dad speak at this event. So it's pretty dope just to know that way after football has kind of ended, that legacy and just that love between us and the community still lives on. And it's really amazing.
And that's one thing about Tampa that's extremely underrated is we have a great fan base out here. And whether it's win, lose, our fan base is always extremely, loyal, and they're always present. They always remember you. Like, this past year has been amazing with the Tampa Bay Rays, obviously winning the Tampa Bay Rays going to the World Series, the Rowdies winning, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl, and the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the Stanley Cup final. So, it's been buzzing. We're kind of the center of the sports world right now. So it's huge with all of that, and it's bringing back all of that nostalgia, bringing back the memories of Tony Dungy and those defenses and the Tampa Bay offenses at that time, and then the Super Bowl from 2002. So it brings back all of those memories. But we also remember that at that time you were a ball boy. You've been close to football for a long time, man. Tell us about that.
Man, yeah, just absolutely. Honestly, it's from a young of an age as I can remember. I've always just kind of been around the game. Before Tampa Bay, when my dad coached the Vikings, he was a defensive coordinator, and I would just be in the facility, just at practice, like watching film with the coaches, like just being in the way. And so I've just always been around it. And what's amazing though is my father always set this kind of tone and this culture that the workplace was going to be a family workplace. So whether it was me or another one of the coaches' children, they felt comfortable being there. It was, it was an environment that was safe for families to be in there. And you kind of show that you can still have your family around, you can have fun and still work hard and put in work and win. So it was a really cool experience. And I mean, what, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old wouldn't want to be in the locker room or like be a ball boy or like, be on the field and stuff like that. So got a lot of cool experiences that like looking back were like, once in a lifetime.
And it just shows how ingrained Tampa is into who you are, into your family, because it would seem, it seems for those on the outside looking in, it's like, listen, this family is from Tampa. These are Tampa natives, right? Because you came in and the environment embraced you and you embraced the environment. So, the Dungies to us are Tampa natives, right? It's just, it feels that way. That's the energy that you guys give, and that's the energy that we give to you guys. So we love that your family has been here, right? And it's amazing that you're still here and your family is still doing so much for the community, and that you decided to come back home, right? Because I know a lot. I know a lot about your football career, right? And I see those jerseys behind you. I was a huge fan of the University of Oregon. My family knows that's where I wanted to go when I was playing ball. So I tell me what that was like, in college football. Did you feel an obligation to play football with how your father, how close you grew up to the game, and your father being a Hall of Fame head coach? Did you feel the obligation to play, and what led you to the University of Oregon?
Sure. Yeah. No, man. My dad did an amazing job of like allowing me to be around the game, but never really pressuring me to play football. Like I never felt like I had to. Naturally, something that I wanted to do and I liked, and so I wanted to put in work and to be the best I could and be dedicated to my craft. But I never felt like I was forced to play. Matter of fact, I played in 3rd grade and didn't like it and quit. And so like okay, and I tried back out in like maybe 6th grade. But like it was never like a pressure. You got to do this. Just my parents did a really great job of just kind of like giving me different opportunities and different options and like allowing me to like gravitate towards like what I enjoyed. So then once I did kind of get locked in on football, everybody that plays, like you mentioned, you want to go D1, you want to go to college, you want to go to the league, things like that. So, you start off as a freshman and then like you kind of have this vision of like, all right, by the time I'm a senior, I'm gonna be this guy and I'm gonna have many offers and this and that and things like that. And hold on, I apologize. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you have different, goals and aspirations. Then it starts to kind of play out. So for me, I always wanted to go to Florida State. I was a fan as a child. Really was just infatuated with that program. And then as I get to like a junior, I'm starting to maybe talk to Florida State a little bit. Senior year, and Oregon really wasn't on the radar. It wasn't until late in the process, like January of that year, that Robert Wiener, my high school coach at Plant, and Chip Kelly, the coach at Oregon, they randomly bumped into each other. And my coach had my highlight tape in his pocket.
Yeah.
And I was our last scholarship that year. So it was just like a testament to just like having faith that like whatever you're supposed to be, you're going to end up there. And also just a shout out to my coach for like going to bat for me and like literally having my highlight tape in his pocket. Like this on whatever. It's kind of like a guy that would sell like, like a hustler. Like you just always
that mixtape.
So I mean, that's just kind of how it went, and the rest was kind of history.
Hey man, that's and it's the crazy part is that that's mostly how it happens. I always say that the best way for any kind of promotion, the best way to get out there has always been through word of mouth, and it's still through word of mouth. When it comes to business growth, when it comes to getting your name out there in any particular field, it's always about who you know, not necessarily what you know or what you can do. There's been a lot of people who are twice as talented in this or in that, but it's because one person knew the right people that they were able to get to the place that you were trying to get to, or that another person was trying to get to, right? So how important that is, you know, having those connections and also having the talent to go along with it is huge, and it goes a long way. So that time that you spent, you know, playing football, tell us how, when you realized that was coming to an end, and how that translated into the luxury realting field. Because it's kind of a crazy transition. It's like, when did you realize that you wanted to become a realtor?
Yeah, it was an interesting process, man. Like a lot of athletes, I had a kind of a one-track mind. Like, you know, I made good grades and stuff like that, but I never really thought too much about life outside of sports, you know. Mm-hmm. Everybody can tell you the statistics about how likely you are to make it, but you're going to be like, no, I'll be the guy that makes it. Yeah. So basically what happened was, so I transferred from Oregon to USF in my 5th year. Mm-hmm. So going into that year, I kind of felt like, all right, this is your make or break year. Like, you know, you were at Oregon, you graduated, you didn't quite play as much as you wanted to, like no excuses. Like you got one more shot in college. Like, and then once I like kind of was like getting towards the end of that season, like I'm a very real person. So I just knew like I didn't produce what I needed to produce to make it. I wasn't gonna like make excuses or try to like, oh man, they're trying me, or they're, you know, it was, I just didn't know what to do. So even though I was very like realization, then the next step was like, oh snap. So like, now what? Mm-hmm. And I remember I was actually went back to Oregon and was just sitting on my friend's futon. They were getting ready for the Rose Bowl. And I was like, yo, like another like couple weeks, like I'm going to be in the real world and I don't even know what to do. And my older sister helped me kind of put a resume together. And I actually wasn't in real estate at first. I was doing some other things, had a couple of internships here and there. But eventually, probably about 6 more months later, I had a mentor who kind of just encouraged me to get into real estate and get my license. And even then, I didn't know where I was going to go with real estate. I just had my license. I figured it was a good thing to have. And then fast forward probably another year, I kind of just made the connection of like, all right, well, I used to play sports. So, you know, I can maybe reach out to athletes. You know, there's a barrier to trust with athletes where they don't trust people. And so with a big decision like real estate, they're like, man, who can I trust to help me, advise me on a potential big sale, a big purchase? And so that's kind of where I was like, let me lean into people that I already know, people that already know me, that already trust me. And it started out with helping one guy rent an apartment. And 4 years later, now I'm, you know, me and my business partner, John, are now the official realtors of the Bucs. So it's just one of those things where you never know where life's going to take you. And you just like go hard every day. You never know like which day is going to be the day that kind of changes the trajectory of your life though.
And that's the thing, is that you never really know what's going to make you happy doing something until you try it, or until you give it a shot, right? Because, you know, realting, like I said, I was an athlete, so, you know, you have this one track mind. It's like, you know, I'm going to get here, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get here, and there's roadblocks that come. It may not even be the way that you play. It could be injuries, it could be an illness, it could be this, it could be that stop you from getting where you need to go. And you get to that place, like you said, where it's like, dang, I'm about to graduate, and I don't know what I want to do. And it takes that trial and error and figuring out what it is you want to do, because you never really know what you're going to be happy doing, right? It's not, you know, in realting, like, you know, when you're a kid and they're like, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? No kid says, yeah, I want to be a realtor. I want to, right? You know, that's not necessarily something that you think about. It's not something that registers. And that's really not something that clicks for a lot of people until after high school, when you're talking about realting, getting to the realting business and everything like that. So my next question, that leads me into my next question. Where does the transition come between, you know, realting and luxury home realting? Where's the difference?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to kind of go back to what you were saying too about the whole point of like not knowing what you're gonna enjoy until you kind of get into it. I kind of glossed over it, but when I first got out of college, my first internship, I did social media, and I kind of like that. But after a few months, I kind of was like, I don't know if I want to do that for the rest of my life. Then I did a scouting internship. I was looking to maybe being a scout or being a coach, and there was different pros and cons. In real estate, like, wasn't necessarily something I was always thinking about, but my mom just has a big kind of eye for home shopping and trends and interior design, and so she kind of exposed it to me at a younger age, but I didn't think anything of it. But it wasn't until I kind of tried it years later that I realized I loved it. But I tried 3 or 4 other things before that I didn't like. So especially now with like, you know, Instagram and stuff like that, it's like, you're always trying to be like, oh, I got to have it all set. I got to have my plan perfectly. I got to have it all made. And like, I didn't have it made, man. Like I tried a couple of things and didn't like it, or it wasn't good enough, or whatever the case may be. And it took me to a few years to like find that thing. So I just want to encourage anybody listening that like, it may not be the first thing you try that you love. And it may be a few times where you're going to have to take a couple L's before you figure it out. And that's the process.
You know, it's the same way for me. You know, I was focused on one particular thing. I knew I enjoyed because I own a bakery, so I used to enjoy watching my grandma bake. It never really registered that was something that I wanted to do, but I was mesmerized by it, and I still feel the same way when I do it now. But you know, I got into sports, and I was really into that. And then when my career came to an abrupt end, I was like, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I love doing. This is what I enjoy doing, and it sort of came back around. And, you know, and it turned out after trying a couple of different things that I could have done, but I wasn't happy doing. And once I found the thing that I was originally happy doing, now that's career path and the career arc that I'm on. So I can bear witness to that myself, you know, as far as, you know, trial and error on different things. And you usually always come back around to something that, you know, that you really enjoyed doing or that you loved doing in the past. And you see a lot of people who are successful in certain fields do that. You have a lot of people who go and be a lawyer because somebody wanted them to be a lawyer, or they go and be a doctor because somebody wanted them to be a doctor. And once they finish in that field, they usually go back to do what it is that they wanted to do before they got into that career field. Yep. So it always comes back around.
Absolutely. And then, so now to kind of answer the last question you had about just the difference between luxury real estate and just, you know, real estate in general. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of difference in terms of like, for me, it's just the prices are higher, the stakes are higher sometimes. Like there's more money involved. There's, you know, the numbers get bigger, but like I try to look at it as all just like whoever the client is, whether it's a professional athlete or whether it's just like my buddy from school, just try to like meet them at where they're at and like treat them the same. And then like knowing that like, all right, if the stakes are higher, the prices are higher, you just can't mess up. But it's the same, you know. So I try to look at it just like, hey, it's just numbers, whether it's 100,000 or it's a million, like it's just a number. And like, you know, it's all based on like numbers and percentages. And I try not to let the numbers mess me up and just kind of look at it just like a math thing, or it's just like a numbers game. I'm just putting numbers in and not getting like overwhelmed with like, oh, this house costs this much. Like I'll try to treat the same.
And so from, you know, normal real estate to luxury real estate, when did that transition happen for you? And when did Compass come into play? Yeah.
So when I first got my license, I was actually thinking I watched a lot of the shows, like they flip houses and stuff like that. And I was like, I'll do that. In my mind, I was like, I don't have to have a boss. I don't have to have a schedule. I don't have to work for anybody. I just flip the house whenever I feel like it and get paid. Yeah. It didn't work like that. I was kind of looking at that for a while. And then I had, so then once I kind of got into the more of like just buying and selling traditional real estate, I guess around the same time that I kind of, for me, it made sense to kind of like focus my business on like the athletes and the sports entertainment. That's kind of when I started like looking at the luxury side, just because, you know, like you just want people to trust you. And so like, if they know that you're qualified to like, you know, to serve them and to work in the houses that they're trying to buy, it just makes it better. And then with Compass, very interesting story. So my current business partner, John Fincher, who I'm not able to make it, but he had his own company at the time when I met him. I joined his company, and then less than a couple of weeks, and I was still pretty young at the time. And less than a couple of weeks later, Compass actually called us through him and through his associate to recruit us. And it wasn't me though. It was like him, and at the right time. Like I just happened to be there.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey man, we're going to Compass. Like just trust me on this. And I was like, all right, I trust you. And it started off kind of slowly building and building. That was about 4 years ago. At that time, Compass was only in about like 10 or so cities. And I think they're over like 150 now. So they've been growing. We're now like, I think the second largest independently owned real estate company. I might mess up some of the stats, but the point is we've grown a ton over the years, and then officially launched into Tampa in April, which is the same time that we announced our partnership with the Buccaneers. So it's just really exciting just to kind of see the momentum of the company. We have a black CEO, which is amazing just to see, you know, doing amazing things. So it's an exciting time to be with the company and to be in real estate in general.
Awesome. See, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but I have a couple questions that I want to ask piggybacking off of that. I'm really into this. I'm not, all right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come right back to the interview. I'm excited for this. All right, let's get it.
I'm a classic man. You could be me when you look this clean. I'm a classic man. Calling on me like a young OG. I'm a classic man. He's getting met by the street, elegant, old-fashioned man. Yeah, baby, I'm a classic man. I burn through the hood like whoa. When everybody feeling so cold, I'm cool like Nat King Cole. And fellas wanna bit on my glow. I got charm like a leprechaun player. Hey. Now y'all messing with the wrong player. Yeah. Treat me like a dog, and we don't live by the law. I'm a classic man. You could be me when you look this clean. I'm a classic man. Calling on me like a young OG. I'm a classic man. He's getting met by the street, elegant, old-fashioned man. Yeah, baby, I'm a classic man. I burn through the gate like whoa. When everybody feeling so cold. A love life living like gold. And fellas wanna bit on my glow. I got mad love for my crew players. Hey, you know I'm the man, who are you, player? Yeah. Shine bright like a jewel player. Even under fire, I'm a cool player. I'm a classy man. You could be me when you look this clean. I'm a classy man. Calling on me like a young OG. I'm a classy man. He's getting met by the street, elegant, old-fashioned man. Yeah, baby, I'm a classy man. I'm a classy man. You could beat me when you look this clean. I'm a classy man. Calling on me like a young OG. I'm a classy man. He's getting met by the street, elegant, old-fashioned man. Yeah, baby, I'm a classy man.
I'm telling y'all, Kappas are some of the smoothest black men on the planet. I'm telling y'all, it's not even a competition. It's not even close. Harlem Nights Extravaganza, everybody. Next year, make sure you go to mybemp.com and pre-register. Right now, we're in the middle of an interview with ERIC Dungy. So let's get right back into it. So like I said, I was excited to ask this question because you brought up the Compass's partnership with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what I wanted to ask you about that, because, you know, being so close to football, of course, you know, growing up, how does it feel to have a game that you love so much and a career that you love so much that would seemingly not come together, right? Being able to work so close to a team that you grew up around and in a business that you enjoy doing. How cool is that, you know, having those two come together?
Man, it's a blessing. It's amazing. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I was playing ball. It abruptly kind of ended. Mm-hmm. I figured that football side of me was kind of done and done forever. Mm-hmm. I looked at coaching, looked at scouting. For me, the hours, the time away from your family, the lifestyle didn't quite appeal to me. Got into real estate, was all in on real estate. And then when this opportunity kind of came back to merge the two things I loved, I mean, it's amazing. Like one of my good friends is a sports agent. So both of us played football. We both didn't make it after college. But for like both of us to like have like clients on the NFL and to be going to games to watch our clients and to like it's like the next best thing. Like, all right, we didn't quite make it, but you know, even if we did make it, like, you know, I'm 29 years old now. Like your career is only a couple years anyways. It's like the next best thing is to be like, okay, well now I'm on the different side of the game. Kind of like, I don't want to make this comparison, but it's almost kind of like the show Ballers, like when you put the Rock. Yeah. You know, you kind of around the game.
It's about as close as you can get.
My life's nothing like that, but it's just a cool feeling to kind of be close to it and be around the players and some of the kind of the big movers and shakers and kind of be adjacent to the industry.
And that's a big part of it. Like, you know, you're just as close as you would be otherwise without all the injuries.
Right. I mean, like looking at like just, you know, how much a realtor can make. Like, obviously, I'm not going to make millions and millions of dollars, but like you look at like the minimum salary for a football player, you're like, man, I can almost make that much money, but like I don't gotta have a concussion, I don't have to have any injuries, I don't have to like lift all the weights or run in the heat. So it's pretty cool. And you can do this forever. I can be, you know, 50 years old still doing this.
Exactly. And it's a career that's never gonna go away no matter what. People are always gonna need houses, everybody's gonna need a place to live. And you know, and it's a really good industry to be in, especially, you know, especially in the times that we're in, especially, you know, coming out of sort of the COVID era where it's sort of the housing market is starting to boom a little bit again. You have a lot more people coming in and out looking for houses, especially with all the trades that are being made, athletes coming to this area, athletes leaving this area, you know, so that the market continues to circulate no matter what. So it's a huge part of what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, and just even that, another blessing. I mean, COVID, obviously, a lot of negatives have happened, and a lot of people, you know, lost their lives and lost loved ones. But from a business standpoint, like from Tampa, especially, it made people realize, you know, the different values they have. One of them being nice weather, one of them being like proximity to water, one of them being like better cost of living. So all those reasons made a lot of people want to move to Tampa. And whether they're athletes or non-athletes, people just made Tampa a more popular place. At the same time, Tampa was already doing the work to make themselves better anyways. You know, Nick was going crazy with all the Water Street stuff, all these different developments going on. So it's like the perfect storm of like, Tampa was, I feel like kind of like a sleeping giant a little bit, kind of rising up, and then people realizing the value in Tampa. And it's a beautiful thing. Everything's kind of coming together at the same time.
Now, Compass has described you as one of the most personable and just great overall people in their business. How do you get a reputation like that? You know, now it's easy, like you can just being yourself, but being recognized that way. How does that feel?
No, that feels great. I mean, that's an amazing kind of description and a great compliment. I don't necessarily have a strategy for it. I think it's just kind of part of how I was raised. Partly for me, I know a lot of people always thought they knew me based on maybe my name or like a story they maybe thought. And so I really enjoyed like actually letting people get to know me. And so I think same thing where it's just like when I meet somebody, whether they're a client or whatever the case may be, it's like I want to just get to know them for who they are and like meet them on kind of level terms. And maybe that's refreshing and maybe not everybody does that. But yeah, this is a people business. Like, you know, you have your houses and you have different things, but at the end of the day, it's people and it's just a people thing. And so, and I don't think I'm the smartest person or anything like that, but I pride myself on at least being a good person, you know?
And that's where most of your business comes from. You know, I work really close to people, you know, at markets and everything like that. Sometimes it's just you smiling at somebody and they're like, wow, people out here are smiling. It's 105 degrees and nobody's out here smiling. Nobody looks happy, but you look happy. Right. You know, it's at the end of the day, you know, it's refreshing to see people who are just who not only are they being themselves, but, you know, you're being a good, respectable person, somebody's going to remember later and then be like, wow, that person it was good to talk to that person. May not have bought anything from them, but it was good to talk to that person. And then on top of that, they remember you. So when they come back, it's like, hey, I remember you. Right. And it's, you know, it's a huge part of, you know, being personable is not something that's easy to do all the time, but it's something that it's something that you have to think about, because a lot of times, you know, you have a bad day or you are thinking about the fact that it's 105 degrees outside with no breeze. We in Tampa. you know that 90 humidity being outside with that 105 no breeze, you know, so you have to think about it. It's like, listen, I have to, you know, sometimes you have to focus on it, but it's a huge part, you know, when you're dealing with people. People want personal connections. Business is important. A lot of people just want to get to business. Some people are like, listen, I don't want all of the happy joy. I want to get down to business, right? But other times, you know, it's important to people that they get that.
Yeah, and one of our higher ups in our company, he has this quote. I don't know that he necessarily made up the quote, but he kind of passed it on to me, so I'm going to give him credit for it. But basically, the premise of the quote is that people remember how you make them feel way longer than anything you can say or do. And so think about that. It's like the specifics, the actual words, that's going to come and go. Like, oh, I was around him and I felt good, or he was a nice person, made me happy. Like, people remember that long after any individual specifics of your conversation. So I just think about that.
And that's very true, because I remember half the stuff that my coaches used to say in the locker room, but but I tell you this much, it gets you hyped though. It gets you hyped. It's the same thing. You remember the feeling, you remember the emotion, you remember the rush, but you don't always remember everything that's said. You understand what I'm saying? You don't remember every conversation, but you remember the spirit of that conversation and the energy that conversation gave you. And if it was a good energy, if it was a good vibe, if it was a great conversation, the person's gonna remember that feeling, and that feeling is gonna come back when they see you again.
Exactly.
And so I wanted to ask you a question about Evolve Brotherhood. How did that come about?
Yeah, so my co-founder is a guy named Alan Sampson, who we went to Plant High School with. Literally one day we were just sitting in my living room, just kind of looking at the world, talking about life, and felt like we wanted to do more. Unfortunately, with COVID, it's kind of taking the wind out of our sails a little bit. We were going into schools, and we were really involved with Booker T. Washington Elementary School. Last year, not being able to go in person kind of dampened things a little bit, and we had to kind of regroup and re-strategize there. But the whole premise of Evolve originally was just the idea that kids want a place to belong. Kids, especially a lot of Black and brown kids, they may look towards gangs or they look towards streets because at the end of the day, they just want to be loved. They want to be, they want to have a brotherhood. So how can we recreate the gang, but make it not be a gang, make it be a brotherhood, make it be a kind of fraternity kind of feel. So that's kind of what the idea is, that, kids are looking for love and acceptance, and we try to create a positive outlet for them to do that, as opposed to a gang or some kind of negative organization.
And whether we like to see it or not, that's very prevalent in the Tampa, especially South St. Pete's areas, where it's really prominent. It still exists. It doesn't exactly look the way that it did a decade ago or a decade and a half ago, but it's very much still present. It's just, you don't see it all, right? Especially if you choose to close yourself off to that aspect of it. So what do you see as the vision? What's your vision for Evolve Brotherhood? What is it going to become? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, I think ultimately, like, the best, kind of the biggest vision of it would just be kind of like in Tampa as a whole, just like a big kind of organization where guys, whether you're from, this hood, that hood, West Tampa, South Tampa, whatever, like that you can come along and have this commonality. So one thing that we kind of thought about when we were creating is like that shared experience. So think about like football, you think about like youth football in Tampa, Skyway Little League. I might have played for the Dolphins. You might have played for the Raiders. Like if I see you 20 years later, like, oh, you played the Skyway. Okay. So then all of a sudden you have that respect and that shared experience. So you get, hey, you were in Evolve, I was in Evolve. Even if I'm from this area and you're from that area, and the rules say that we're not supposed to like each other, we have this shared experience that's bigger than the gang rules. That's that's common respect. We had two kids. I'm not going to put their names out there at Plant. That where they grew up in their neighborhoods, they weren't supposed to like each other, and I didn't know that. I wasn't necessarily hip to the kind of the street code at that time. But the bigger thing was Plant football that kind of oversaw that, and so just kind of recreating that concept of like, hey, you may have a neighborhood affinity, but if there's a bigger purpose than you, then hopefully kind of like cancel some of that out and just let that love and respect kind of override that. And
unity is a big part of it, creating unity and when there's so many other reasons to not like someone or to be against someone, especially when it comes to each other. And that's what Black Heritage Enterprise Marketplace is about. It takes us as a people uniting and supporting one another on a greater level in order for not only our people and on a small level to close the wealth gap, but on a bigger level to unite as a people to make change, because we are the orchestrators of change. Change has only come about when we've done something. And that's in culture, that's in culture, that's in food, that's in politics. All of it comes about when we decide to unite. So Evolve Brotherhood, especially when it comes to our young men, our men are against each other for really no reason at all. Same business, same likes, same dislikes, but because of, like you said, where you're from, there's no unity. And without unity, we can't build something bigger. We can't build something greater. So that unity, especially among young men, is going to be huge going forward. So the premise and the vision and the foundation of Evolve is immaculate.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll just add one little note too, just as far as kind of the premise and the vision is just also this exposure. One thing that I think about too, if you live in a small, a 1 block radius, and then somebody from the next block over, that's your whole world. And like, you're like, I got to defend my corner. I got to defend my turf. You travel a little bit and you see how big the road is. All of a sudden, this street versus that street doesn't really matter anymore when you see there's a whole road out there bigger than yourselves. And so just exposing people to just that idea that there's more out there than that. It also just kind of helps, like you said, to help build up when you realize that the road is such a big place and there's so many opportunities.
And that's so true, because when you look at a lot of our communities, a lot of brothers from South St. Pete have never crossed the bridge into Tampa. You'd be surprised. And majority of the young people that you ask in our hoods and different things like that, they've never been out of their city. So exposure is going to be huge. And especially like you see a lot of guys going to the NFL and they get in trouble A lot of them have never been out of their hood until they went to college. They've never been, or until they went into the NFL, traveling as far as they did. So you see them sort of behave a certain way, or certain things happen. You know, it's like taking a fish out of water in a lot of ways. So you get a lot of different reactions from people when you take them out of their particular environment and you show them places where they've never been before.
Absolutely, yeah. Just thinking, you made the point of South St. Pete. Same thing in Tampa. I remember some of the kids that we were touring. They can't be more than 2 miles away from Bayshore Boulevard, and kids have never seen the water. And it's like, man, you live in Tampa, but you're confined to this little area. And I'm sure you take a drive down Bayshore Boulevard, like that doesn't change your perspective a little bit. All of a sudden, you think of it, you're like, oh, there's more things possible out there. There's bigger than what I know. And so, just exposure and just understanding that there's more out there. And then I think that results in like a different perspective once you like have that exposure. But also like you point to, if you've never seen it before, it can be uncomfortable at first.
Exactly.
So just getting used to it and seeing different things.
It's like being a kid again, having to regrow up. Because it's like, listen, I've never seen this before. I've never been here before. I've never done this or that before. So it takes reacclimation, and it's a like, you could be mature from where you're from, but you have a whole new level of maturity and growth that you have to go through when you make that transition to a place that you've never been before.
For sure.
Now, how do we get involved with Evolve Brotherhood to sort of, because like for our viewers on the show, I'm sure those who are viewing, those who are watching know the mission of Black Heritage Enterprise Marketplace, and it's right in line with what Evolve Brotherhood is trying to do. So how do we get involved? How do we support?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Honestly, we got to kind of go back and huddle up a little bit. Like I said, the pandemic kind of impacted us and impacted our strategy a little bit. So we kind of got to circle back and kind of figure out how we want to kind of rebrand and relaunch. So if you would allow me to kind of maybe circle back on that one and maybe
absolutely
with what we're doing and how we can help, I want to steer you guys in the right direction. So I want to be strategic with that.
Absolutely. So whenever you have that ready, we'll bring you back on. And we'll just talk about Evolve, because I feel like that's huge in and of itself. You know, Evolve Brotherhood, I feel like that could be its own show with your mission and your premise and what your goals are. So we can definitely do that.
Perfect.
Now, Inside the Headset is growing in popularity. You've had a lot of great coaches on. Tell us about how that got started and tell us about what you're doing with that.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Kind of how I got started. One of my mentors and the guy that I actually work with, Ben Moss, he is the director of Compass's sports entertainment division. So, and he's in the middle of writing a book about just kind of the whole experience of like selling homes to athletes and that whole just kind of a book for athletes about real estate. And so he kind of encouraged me to kind of maybe not write a book, but kind of do my own thing to kind of leave my stamp on the road and kind of, and so after some talk, I thought about a podcast. And basically the idea with Inside the Headset is that you're getting life and business advice from your favorite coaches. So whether it's Dabo Sweeney or Mike Tomlin or Steve Kerr, they're going to give you a little bit about the game, but it's really about life. It's about relationships. It's about mentorship. It's about, just how to build an organization. So hopefully whether you are a coach or a player, or you could be a parent, you could be a teacher, you could be an entrepreneur, you can hopefully listen to the show and be inspired and hear something from maybe your favorite coach that you can apply to your business or you can apply to your daily craft.
Awesome. Now that was one of the first things that I noticed when I actually started looking into everything that it is that you do. I was like, this Mike Tomlin, you had obviously you had your father on there, Tony Dungy, you had Herm Edwards. I'm like, wow, this is great. And then I'm starting to see it grow a little bit. I'm like, this needs to be a lot bigger. This needs more promotion, because it's huge how many guys you have on there in the conversations that you have, like you said, about business, about life, not just the sports aspect. Because a coach can talk about sports all day, but it's the other things and other aspects of their life that aren't seen that you talk about. That's huge. That's the best part of the show.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and you're right. I got to get back to it. Another thing that kind of got dampened a little bit during COVID. I was on a roll, releasing episodes. Then all of a sudden I went on a little break and I kind of lost my rhythm. And then also, fortunately or unfortunately, real estate also got really busy. I watch the news. All of the real estate market's really crazy right now. So I haven't had as much time to get in the studio, but I definitely want to. And it feels good to know that people are listening and people enjoy the podcast. So it motivates me to kind of get back out there and get some more episodes out for the people.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for that because I mean, you left us on a high note. I mean, like you said, you were buzzing. I was excited for it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you kind of got to leave them one a little bit more, you know. So hopefully I didn't leave them too long, but hopefully I can get some more and maybe do a second season and get hopefully pick off before people lose too much interest.
Now, final question before we get into our last segment. What would you say is the best part of what you do, whether it be in realty, Evolve Brotherhood, or with inside the headset?
Ooh, good question. I think real estate is my favorite thing to do, and it's honestly, it's not even like, it's not about like the commissions or the sales. It's just like there's little moments throughout my career where I'm just like, this is really dope that I get to do this. One example I can think of off the top of my head is John and I, we sold a penthouse condo about a year ago. Mm-hmm. That was nice, but the best part of the whole experience was it has amazing views. It's in downtown Clearwater. It was while we were waiting, we were doing the photography, and while we were waiting for the sun to set to do like the twilight photos, we had a little impromptu happy hour with the homeowner and the photographer. We were just drinking wine, eating cheese. Yeah. I'm getting paid for this. This is crazy. I'll tell that story to say that like it's like these little moments like that throughout the day where you're just like, oh, this is my job. This is cool. So just like whether it be, you know, a moment like that or having lunch with a client or something like that, where it's just like these little moments where I'm like, man, like I have a pretty cool job. Like I don't have to necessarily like, you know, wear a suit and tie every day or like go to an office. Like, there's just certain things that like it allows me to have that I just try to stop and appreciate and be like, man, this is a pretty cool career. And like I could be doing a lot of different things, but like I could do something that's fun and like what I like to do. So just the lifestyle, all I just say is the lifestyle I think I just love about real estate.
And that's one of the things that that's why I'm glad we went into this direction starting out season 4 of Bimp on the Spot. We had Lewis Brinson week 1, week 2 we had Chris and Aaron Spears, and now we have you. And next week we're going to be having Grant Stewart on the show. And what I really wanted to show is you can be your own business. And that's one thing that a lot of people, you know, they think that you have to start a particular institution or something like that to be the business or to start your own business. There's a lot of different ways that we can do it or that we do it, right? When you're an athlete, you are your business. Your body is your business. You have to maintain that. You have to work on it. You have to have a certain diet. That's your business. You have to take care of it. It's like a baby, right? And it's the same thing. You start in a small business that you're trying to grow. It's not always something that's institutionalized. And for you, like you said, I don't have to wear a suit and tie every day. I mean, I can relax at certain times, or I see these moments where it's just like, wow, this is what I get to do. It's something that I enjoy doing. It's something that I love. Just sort of showing people the different aspects of business that aren't just sort of institutional.
Yeah, I think it's the idea of like working for yourself and like entrepreneurship. I mean, I think you kind of grow up like with this idea of like, all right, like especially a lot of black people, where it's like you grow up like, all right, I'm gonna make it to the league, or maybe I'm gonna, you know, rap, or I'm gonna do this or do that. But like after my couple of options are limited, then it's like, all right, I guess I just have to go work for the man. It's like now to be the man, and it may not be a $1 million company, but it might be a $100,000 company that you get to take all the profits from, and you get to be your own boss, and like just understanding that there's that ability is out there, and the freedom that comes with like, all right, I own my own. I don't actually own my own company, but my business is very much like is centered around me, you know. Like, and so when I kind of own the intelligence of you know, it's just like it's liberating and freedom. Like I have to work, but like if I woke up tomorrow and I didn't feel good, I'd be like, you know what, I'm not working tomorrow, you know. And there's something to opposed to like, not only do I have to work, I'm gonna go fill up somebody else's pay somebody else's bills with my work, you know. Like it's just nice to be able to work for yourself and kind of like whatever you put out, you know, it comes back to you at the end of the day.
Exactly. And that's a huge part of, you know, particularly why our people don't want to start businesses. A lot of times it's like, okay, all the work that has to go into it, right. you know, and you know, once you start exploring and once you start opening your mind to the different things that you can do or the different things that you can be and the ways that you can go about it, it changes your perspective and the way that you see starting a business or the way you see business as a whole.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah, it can be overwhelming, and it's also sometimes it feels like it's harder than you think it is as far as like how to get set up. You think it's this crazy process, and you make a couple phone calls, talk to the right people, and you're like, oh, actually, that's doable. I had a meeting earlier today with a couple of commercial real estate investors, and they had some funds that they're helping some people invest into, and the returns are crazy. But what's even more just crazy is that they're trying to help athletes kind of make these good investments. And it's like a lot of these players are just like, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that was an option. Yeah, man, there's a lot of things out there that are like, if you just kind of like can get the answers or like get a seat at the table, there's a whole way to change your whole life and your whole generation and your whole family. But sometimes we just don't know the opportunities exist and they're right in front of us. But it's almost like they're intentionally kept from us, and you have to really kind of go hard to kind of break through and find your way in. And then once you get it, I feel like it's a responsibility to come back and put your people on.
And another thing that we talk about as well here at BEMP is, you know, the wealth gap. A lot of people mistake what wealth is. Wealth is equity. It's what you have. It's what you own, right? So if you own a business, whether, like you said, it may not be a multi-million-dollar corporation, but if it's $100,000 business, that's something that you own. That's equity. That's wealth. And when you pass it down to your children, you have no idea. They may expand it. They may make it bigger. They may make it greater. Now it's a $200,000 business. And when you're teaching a lot of our people, because we have a huge population of people, they call us minorities, but we're a lot bigger than what they would like us to believe.
They call us minorities to kind of shrink our mindsets.
Exactly.
Over. Let's be real.
Yeah, and when you take the amount of us that we have, and you tell them, okay, you start a business, and these are multiple $100,000 companies, it changes your idea as to what wealth is. Suddenly it doesn't look so small. Suddenly our communities start to look better, right? Because now we've finally begun to invest in ourselves, and once we've started to do that, now we've finally created something. We've created real wealth, not being rich, right? But wealth. And then that new money that we talk about suddenly becomes old money.
Yes, that's what I was going to get. I mean, that was the next thing I was going to say. Is it's amazing to do all that. So imagine a world where we all start businesses. That's great. And then imagine a world where we all pass the business down to our children, and then our children don't have to work. They can work. They don't have to, because they're going to have passive income coming in. So now having to do something to pay the bills, they can explore their passions. They can explore how to make the world a better place. They can reinvest money. So it's just once you kind of eliminate that need to kind of go paycheck to paycheck, and you can have your lifestyle supported by your passive income, which is what wealth is. You just do so many other things, and I'm just hoping that we can kind of get more and more people kind of up into that mode of living.
Exactly. And that's the goal. That's the goal. And when people see this, and when people see these interviews in the future, it's to open their minds as to what they can be, who they can be, and what they can do, especially for our young people who aren't being told what it is, who they can be, what they can do, where they can go. It's going to be huge for our generations coming soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm blessed to just be a very small part of the mission, but I'm just trying to, you know, as Nip would say, just trying to continue the marathon, you know?
And I like to use the analogy, our bodies are made up of a bunch of molecules. So it's all very small, but in collective, it becomes something really big and really great. It just takes for people finally waking up and to the understanding that, hey, we're a lot greater than what we've been told, and we're able to do a lot greater things than what we've been told or what we've been taught to believe as well.
Yep. Our biggest fears are not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure. I believe that.
Exactly. Now, our final segment, our on the spot segment. We have 3 random questions. They're behind 3 doors, and you pick one of those doors, and behind that door is a question. I don't know what they are. You don't know what they are.
Okay.
But it's completely random. It's not a question that I've asked already. So hopefully we can get a pretty good conversation out of these questions. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. We have 3 doors, 1, 2, and 3. Pick your door.
Oh man, okay. Go with door number 3. I feel good about that one.
Door number 3. What's behind it? Who is the most famous and most difficult person you have worked with in your real estate career?
Oh man, I'm gonna cheat because I literally signed an NDA and I can't disclose the person's name, or else I'm obligated to pay like hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I worked with a recording artist, and that's all I'll say. And that recording artist, was just like, the more you're used to, the more you expect. I'm trying to like say this politically correct, and so just they wanted a lot of specific things about the house to be a certain way, and just whenever I thought I had it right, it wasn't quite right. But when you're in the service industry, you always got to take the higher road, and you always got to smile and say, "Oh no, get better." So
hey, if anybody gets that, it's me.
And it's funny too when like somebody like that, where it's like you know them as an artist and you like from a distance, and then you like know them as a person. You're like, oh man, like
you different.
You're an actual person with actual needs, and now I'm responsible for them.
Yeah, man. I mean, you get to come in contact with a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, you know, and that probably has to be one of the most, you know, make you probably one of the most socially aware people, because you have to be able to adjust to a lot of different personalities and lifestyles and different, a bunch of different things. You understand what I'm saying? And backgrounds.
Yeah.
It has to be probably like, it makes you extremely socially aware. I'm the same way because I work in food and everybody wants food. Yeah. So, you know, you have to adjust to different people. It's like, nah, don't do this, or I'm gluten free, or I'm vegan, or I'm this, and you gotta adjust to a lot of different things. So I see what you're talking about there.
Yeah. And I definitely kind of go back to my childhood there, just kind of being raised in the environments I was raised in, like going to living in different areas, moving around, and like, you know, being a black kid in a lot of mostly white spaces, a lot of times, like I was able to kind of adjust. And so, yeah, on any given day, I could have a client that's a professional athlete one day. I could have a client who's a CEO of some company that you would never know of, that's, you know, got a whole bunch of bread that you would never tell by looking at him. The next day, a client who's super broke and is trying to every dollar to get to just to be able to get into the house. You know, so it could be anybody, and you got to kind of like meet them where they're at, like, and kind of figure out like what makes them tick. So yeah, so it's always never a dull moment.
Hey man, I'm so glad that you got to come on to the show today. Hopefully we can have you back. I appreciate you, you know, accepting the invitation. I was hoping that you would. I was like, please. And I'm so glad we got to have this interview today. Definitely one of the best interviews I've done to date, man. And like you said, you wanted to live up to it. That promo, man, you definitely, hey, you did.
I appreciate that, man. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed just sitting down and talking with you, and I love to be back too. So I will do it again.
Definitely. We appreciate you, man. So glad you got to come on. I'll remind you all, next week, Thursday at 6:30, we have an interview with Grant Stewart, Mr. Irrelevant. He was drafted in the 7th round, final pick of the draft to the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So make sure that you tune in next Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Once again, Eric, thank you so much for coming on. You have the final words.
Of course, man. I appreciate it. I'm not going to sit here and like plug anything in, man. I just appreciate the time. And just, that's all I got to say, man. Thank you.
And thank you for coming on. And everybody, thank you, viewers, for sticking around. Make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe, whatever platform you may be on, Facebook, YouTube. If you're still here, most likely you want to subscribe anyway. Costs no money, takes no time. Hit the like button, go over and hit the subscribe button, and then just a couple inches to the right, there's a bell. There's a notification bell. Make sure you hit that, because next week we have an exciting episode for you all. Don't want to take up any more of your time. You all have a good evening.